Well, good evening, everybody. I decided that it was time to maybe bring a little more life back into the concept of between the minutes. If you're a Mirrorless Minutes podcast listener or a watcher, you may have some recollection of some previous episodes that I did on my own that I called Between the Minutes. Since the podcast runs every other week, or lately it seems to be getting pushed and postponed just due to all kinds of extenuating circumstances. Normally, again, it's a bi-monthly or every other week podcast. And about 6 months ago, I decided to start doing something that I called Between the Minutes. And those were just little episodes like this, ones where I didn't necessarily have Mike as the co-host with me, or I didn't have a guest on. And I just wanted to just say what was on my mind, things that I've been up to in my photography world. And again, just wanted to share what was current and new. And how's it going, Mike? And what's current and new right now, I think everyone really knows. And I figured no better time than now to maybe kickstart the Between the Minutes. Hey, good morning, or good morning. I said good morning. Good evening, Bob. That's just how it's been. I don't even know if it's morning or evening. I'm losing track of the days. It's funny just having a couple of days of quarantining at home just throws everything into disarray. There's something positive about seeing people live in these times. I agree, without a doubt. This is something we're not doing on our own, and being able to have some sort of a dialogue back and forth. You have to love technology. I was thinking about what it would have been like 20 years ago to be in this situation, where you don't have the opportunity to video chat, and you don't necessarily have, well, I guess 20 years ago you probably had call waiting, but it would have been just much harder to communicate. And we're pretty blessed, I guess. I mean, the silver lining is we can communicate during these times, so that's good. How's it going, Rick? Good to see you on here, buddy. So again, if you just jumped in a little bit late, I just was talking about, Mirrorless Minutes being every other week. And I had started up doing a series called Between the Minutes, where I just kind of talked about things on my own, things that I'm doing, things that are new, things that are current and relevant. And obviously there's a lot that's current on everyone's minds right now. So I figured I'd take advantage of the downtime here and start talking about some of those things, and maybe just give people a break from the crazy Facebook news that they're seeing, or just general boredom that some may be experiencing. I know I'm going through waves of boredom and restlessness during all of this. So I guess some of the things that I wanted to talk about were things that people could be doing in this downtime. And I know a lot of them are obvious, like read a book or watch a YouTube video or listen to a podcast, things like that. But even though they're obvious, there are a lot of books, there are a lot of videos, there are a ton of podcasts. So I just wanted to share a couple of things that I have here that I've been reading, and some podcasts that I listen to, things like that, and videos that I watch. Yeah, great, Rick. I mean, that's exactly it. Watching YouTube photography videos, there's a ton of them out there. And I guess one of the ones that I wanted to talk about really quickly is it's a book by Iberian X Perello. He runs the podcast called The Candid Frame. He published a book a while back, and he sent me a copy of this book. It's called Making Photographs. Hold on. Everything's backwards in the camera, so I'm not sure which hand I'm supposed to be moving here. So he sent me this book prior to it being published in hopes that I would have time to read it, kind of get a review of it put together, not necessarily a review that I would, give him to publish or anything, but just to share with, the listeners of the podcast and the people that I talk to on a regular basis. And unfortunately, I never had the chance to read it. Things in my life went kind of sideways, as everyone knows, and never had a chance to really sit down and read the book. So that's kind of what I've started doing today, is sitting down and reading the book. And the gist of the book is it's Iberian X's workflow that he uses in his photography. And I think it applies really across all genres. He's a street photographer, and he's over in LA, I believe. And he's been making photos for 20 plus 30 years or something of that nature. I'm probably dating him a little bit by getting the date a little bit wrong, But his approach to it's pretty interesting. He talks about there are 4 visual draws to creating a photo. Those are light and shadow, which, as photographers, everything is light and shadow for us. Line and shape. And those I think are really important to mention, especially in the genre of street photography. When we're talking about man-made objects, and architecture, whether it's infrastructure, things like that, there are full of all these lines and shapes that can work into the creation of an image. The next subject, or the visual draw that he talks about is color and gesture. So color is, that's an obvious one. If you're a black and white street shooter, color doesn't really necessarily play into that. You can probably nix that one. And then gesture. Gesture is, I think, everything in street photography. It's the mannerisms that people are expressing. You can tell a lot by a person in the way that they're carrying themselves or the way that they're expressing their emotion through their movements and their actions and their posture. So he talks about using these 4 visual draws to help build and create your image. If you start studying, the light and shadow, positioning yourself accordingly based on where the light and shadow fall, and working into that lines and shapes, whether they're derived from architecture or the way that the light and shadows are creating lines and shapes. And again, we'll nix the color on this because I'm more of a black and white guy, but then gesture, how someone intersects with these lines and shapes and the architecture and creating a photo. I haven't gotten super deep into the book. I know the premise of the book from what I've read so far, and that's what I've been explaining. But what's great is it's full of his photos. And I'm going to do the little page turn here and, of course, open up to a page with no photos. But he does go through the book and share his images and how his philosophy plays out in all of these images. And the reason I'm sharing this book in particular, aside from the fact that it's one that I'm currently reading, is that this is also available on Amazon as a Kindle ebook. And I know that currently it's probably, not easy to get your hands on a book. Obviously, I don't know if most people are trying to order things from Amazon or not, but just wanted to share, that book is available as an ebook. And I think that's something that people could be doing. Again, one of the benefits of the day and age that we live in as photographers, our sources of education aren't relegated to a classroom or in-person things that need to be done. They can be done electronically. Like Rick in the chat room here had mentioned, he's been watching YouTube videos. There's no better way to consume during a time like this than in the comfort of your own home, where you're not worrying about exposing yourself to what's going on out there. So again, I really highly recommend the book, Making Photographs by Iberian X Perello. Again, it's kind of early in the book for me to give you like a full review of it, but so far his writing style is wonderful. It's not dry. You're not going to get bored and lost in this. And I think there'll be valuable takeaways. Again, he's a street photographer, but I think as with any genre of photography, there are takeaways that can be applied to pretty much all other genres of photography. Again, so he's a street photographer. I know his thoughts, principles, and philosophies can certainly apply to a landscape photographer like me, without a doubt. So some other books that I think would be great. I know I've got a lot of Olympus viewers and listeners on here. I would say start looking up the Mastering the Olympus, OMD, and then insert camera model name here, books that are available on Amazon as well. So these books are, let's see. So the one I'm looking at right now is by David Thorpe. Not familiar with that book, but the books by Daryl Young, I'm familiar with those. I've got a couple of those here in my house that I've read through as well. And they're extremely comprehensive books. And again, the great thing is that these are available as a Kindle ebook. And if you're not a Kindle owner, don't worry. You can actually download the Kindle Reader app for your phone. So you could still download these books to your iPad or your Android phone or whatever and read them that way. Hey, how's it going, Steve? Thank you for the recommendations and encouragement now and always. Stay safe. Thank you so much, Shelly. Trying my best to stay safe. I'll tell you what, I'm trying to kill whatever germs may be in the house with scotch tonight. So if you're looking for a scotch recommendation, I've got a good one right here tonight. So I guess another one of the things that I wanted to talk about too, aside from books, which again, I highly encourage you to jump over to Amazon and start looking up books on whatever genre of photography you're interested in, or if it's something that's really technical that you're after. Again, whether you want to get to know a new camera or you want to get to know advanced techniques in photography. If you're more of a book person and you want to just kick back on the couch and be comfy that way and not watch a YouTube video, jump on Amazon and start downloading the Kindle versions. And again, just download the Kindle Reader app for your iPhone or Android phone if you don't have an Amazon Kindle. Another thing that I'm doing a lot more of is the master classes online. And I know people have probably seen me post about how excited I was for masterclass. I'm totally excited about it. And actually, this is the one that I've been watching right now. And this is Capturing Your Passions. And this is with Jimmy Chin. So Jimmy Chin is like an adventure and outdoor photographer. He does a lot of commercial work. And chances are you've probably seen his photos in ads for everything from Nike to Land Rover and Mercedes to whatever huge brands. And the series is outstanding. And I know I had people asking me, well, how much is it for this masterclass? And honestly, I don't know that you can buy them by the class, but I know if it's like $180 and you get access to all of the master classes. So all of the master classes, there are tons of them, from everything from photography to cooking to business. I also started watching the one with Annie Leibovitz, which is really cool. Jimmy Chin's is way more from start of shoot to end of shoot. And Annie's is more along the lines of like, Annie's is more the inspiration of photography. So she doesn't get super technical in her talks. It's more about the thought process behind her shooting. Whereas Jimmy's is everything from pre-conceptualization to camera settings to post-processing and the whole 9 yards, which is super cool to watch how he works, but then also really cool to listen to Annie's, her approach to photography, how she gets the relaxed, natural person in her portraits. And again, I'm sure everyone knows who Annie Leibovitz is. And again, if you don't, I promise you've seen some of her work somewhere at some point in your life, without a doubt. So like the next thing I guess that I would want to talk about is, I'm zooming my cameras in and out here on my screen, are podcasts. And it's not always easy to find the right podcast. It seems like there are a lot of podcasts that are, they're either just 100% news. So if you want the latest and greatest on camera releases, camera industry news or whatever, I would say the Petapixel photography podcast is a great one. I'm not sure when the last episode of that was released, but it's always fun and entertaining to listen to Sharky James talk. He's really crazy, high energy, little goofy, full of dad jokes, I guess you could call them, the whole time. Of course, The Candid Frame, that's the podcast by Abarianex Perillo, the author of the book that I shared a few minutes ago. And his podcasts are 100% interview based, and they're amazing to listen to. I will name drop that I've been on there once, which was kind of weird that I was on there. If you go back and look at his past guests on there, I don't know how I fit in his podcast, but somehow I made it on his show. Don't go listen to me. It's embarrassing. Just go listen to everyone else who's on there. Just some amazing photographers. And one of the things that he does on his podcast that I really love is that at the end of the podcast, he has the guest who's on recommend a photographer who people may not have heard of before. And it's always a great way to find someone new to follow, someone else's work to be inspired by. So again, that's The Candid Frame, wonderful podcast. And another podcast that I've been listening to more and more is the Landscape Photography Podcast. Shocker there. That's by Nick Page. Nick is an astounding photographer, workshop leader, wizard at post-processing his images. And he shoots a lot of the things that I really want to chase after and shoot. He spends time in the Faroe Islands and in Iceland, Patagonia, all over the Southwest of the United States. And his podcast is, sometimes he does interviews. Sometimes he just talks about, his experiences preparing to go on journeys like the ones that he does, how to pack and things like that. And if you catch him over on his YouTube channel, he does some great post-processing classes as well on there. Again, everything is free of charge, and it's fun to follow along, especially with someone of his caliber. And he speaks in such an easy manner to follow. So I highly recommend listening to him. So those are some of the things that I've been doing, and I'm sure that they're similar to what you've been doing. The whole reason for me mentioning the things that I'm doing is because maybe some of the things that I've been watching or listening to or reading differ from yours. And I'm just hoping to maybe give you something else that you didn't know was an option out there. I do want to talk just a few minutes too about being cooped up and how much of a struggle it is. For me personally, I am not a sit in the house guy. I can't take it. I'm about ready to lose my mind. And I'm probably going to have to venture out at some point in time. So I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about how I'm going to tackle it. And that is, I'm just going to call it responsible exploring. So I plan on going nowhere with groups of people. I'll be in my own vehicle. I won't be stopping and picking up friends. I know Jerry James called me earlier. I missed his phone call. I have a feeling he was going to call me and ask me if I wanted to go shoot. And I really do, Jerry. But I'm not going to go shoot with you, unfortunately. I'm just going to practice the social distancing and it's going to take a country drive, take my camera with me. If I find something to shoot, I'm going to shoot it. It doesn't mean that you can't explore the cities. It doesn't mean you can't explore those urban areas to shoot. I just think that it's, probably best practice for people to just don't come in close contact with people, or maybe don't come in close contact with things that other people may have touched, unless you're wearing some gloves on your hands. But again, if you've got gloves on your hands, you need to make sure that you dispose of those before you start touching your face. So again, best practices, it's common sense, folks. Just explore safely and responsibly, because even though I may get it and I may be fine, it's the fact that I may get it and bring it home and give it to my kids or give it to someone else, indirectly. So I say stay isolated as much as you can. If you need to get out, just explore responsibly. I'm still looking forward to seeing your guys' photographs. I've already gotten submissions from 4 different people now of things that they're shooting. And I know I've got another gentleman who will be sharing photos. Hopefully I get them before the show next Thursday, the Mirrorless Minutes episode, because his photos are going to be different than probably anyone else's who's sharing images. And they may be a bit of a shocker for people, but I have a backstory for that, and it's going to be good. So that's just a teaser to try to get you in on Thursday. So again, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have been shooting during this time. And again, if you want to go out, just, be responsible. I know you all will. I know that I'm pretty much guaranteeing all the Mirrorless Minutes listeners and viewers are smart, safe, responsible people. So I'm probably just preaching to the choir. If you need to spread that message to people that that aren't quite so responsible, just knock yourself out. Go do that for me. I'm also wondering if everybody are participating in different shooting challenges. So Steve Wilking says he's doing a daily challenge, and he started doing it for the past 2 days. And so I had asked you to document life under COVID, or what the new reality is for you right now. And so that's the challenge I issued to you. I'm hoping that Steve is going to do that and participate with that too. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you're looking for things to shoot, you're not sure how do you document life under COVID? I know that's probably conceptually kind of a pain in the butt for some people to wrap their heads around, and that's fine. If you decide to shoot your silverware on the dining room table, that's you living at home. That's part of this whole thing. It's just whatever speaks to you, whatever moments you see around your home or your surroundings, capture those. We are all documentarians at this point in time, especially as photographers. I mean, the images that you create today, who knows where they could be shared or how they could be used in the future to just show what this whole experience was like. So please don't put your cameras away during this craziness that we're living in right now. Keep making those photos. They all matter. They all count. And I would love to see what you guys are creating, whether it's sitting from your couch or in your kitchen or looking out your window at the birds or the crazy people that are walking in a group of 20 down your street. I haven't seen that, but I'm sure someone's seen it out there. Document it all and share it with us. Richard says he's been shooting in black and white for something different outside of his box. Yes. Heck yes. Now is the time to start experimenting. Break out of that box. I showed you guys boudoir photos that I shot the other week, completely outside of the box for me, and super liberating and fun to be able to shoot something that's not your norm, and maybe find something like, let's say you focus on depth of field when you're doing your documenting around the house. Maybe take a minute to open that lens wide open, as wide as it gets, and start isolating certain parts of your subject and just focusing on depth of field for a while. Create a whole folder, a whole library of images with shallow depth of field and see how that works. Maybe go the opposite direction. Maybe stop that lens down and give yourself a really deep depth of field, but then get close to a subject so that your subject that is close to you is in focus, but then everything moving off into the background also stays in focus. There are a lot of different things that you can do. I mentioned shooting your silverware on your dining room table. Clear everything off the table. Maybe lay out a towel or a sheet and then just put your silver on that. Shoot that in black and white from above. Make a hyper minimalist shot of just your silverware. Something like that. Just think completely outside of the box and have fun with it. And if you're looking for encouragement or if you're looking for ideas, I'm always here, you guys. You know that. I'm not joking when I say I'm just a message away. So if you've got an idea for something, you're not sure how to start with it, and you think I might be able to help, always reach out. I'll be glad to help with that. Maybe we jump on a little video chat and I can show you how to get your camera set up a certain way for whatever it is you want to do. If you're looking for a place to start sharing your photos, I'd say revisit Flickr. I had a message from someone earlier that's going to share image. Well, they actually shared with me an album that they're dumping their life under COVID images into, and they're doing it on Flickr. And they said, that this whole situation, this whole circumstances that we're living under kind of inspired them to jump back into using Flickr as a warehouse. And I know that once you get into Flickr, you start exploring what everyone else is doing. Take it as an opportunity to start cataloging some of your images as well. And if you guys would like, excuse me, maybe it's time for a little more scotch. Just 1 second. So I could always put a group together on Flickr if you'd like, and just name it Life Under COVID Project or something of that nature, and then share the link out. If it's something you would like me to do, and if you're a Flickr user, just send me a message. If I get enough people that want to do it, 4 or 5, hell, if it's just 1 or 2 of you, I'll make that group, and I'll put out the address for everybody to join it. And then we can start sharing our images there. And then not only can we share them on the podcast next Thursday, but people can just drop in and kind of get a look at what everyone else is doing in the meantime. Again, I just highly encourage everyone during this time to share what you're doing. Keep in constant communication with all your photography friends as well as your family. I like to consider you guys all my extended family. I've had so many great conversations and interactions with all of you over the years. I just want to make sure that you know that we're all out here for each other. And again, I'm just a message away. So if you feel like chatting, sharing images, technical questions, inspirational questions, suggestions, I'm here for you guys. And with that, I think I will probably end the broadcast. I don't have a whole lot more to share. I do just want to say thank you guys for tuning into this. I hope maybe I gave you an idea for a podcast to listen to or a book to read when things are crazy like this. Let's just keep our fingers crossed, you guys, that we get through this all smoothly and in as fast a time frame as possible. And again, one more reminder, I feel like someone's mother telling them, clean your hands. But again, if you're going to go out, just explore responsibly. I know you guys know the drill, but I just wouldn't feel right if I didn't wish you guys the best and safest explorations out there. You guys take care. I look forward to seeing the images that you're creating over the next few days, and I'm really looking forward to sharing those with everyone on Mirrorless Minutes. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys Thursday.